I've been waiting for a while, but I haven't been called yet. How much longer will it take? Well, I called you earlier, and you went into the examination room. What? Surprised by the words of the reception staff, I rushed into the examination room, where I found my husband, who was not supposed to be there. Huh? Why are you here? When my husband saw me, his face turned pale. My husband, looking impatient, tries to remove me from the examination room. And what I saw immediately afterwards was an incredible sight. I am Linda Johnson, 27 years old this year. I have one younger sister, and she usually works as an office worker for a general company. My husband, Ken, and I got married 3 years ago, and now live together. We met when we worked at the same part-time job. Then, after 4 years of dating, since our college days, we got married. We are like friends who can talk about anything, as we were students and still are now. I am currently in my 7th week of pregnancy. We wanted to have a child right after we got married, but things didn't work out. After 2 years of infertility treatment, we finally had our long-awaited baby. When I realized I was pregnant, I went alone to the obstetrician, where I received an ultrasound of the fetus and the fetal sac, which would be the womb where the baby would grow. Ken does not know that I am pregnant yet. I plan to surprise Ken with a surprise pregnancy report. On the way home from the OB-GYN's office, I was thrilled to buy ingredients and cake for my husband's favorite menu. Then as soon as I got home, I started preparing. A few hours passed and my husband came home. I am home. My husband came into the room and was surprised at the gorgeous dishes lined up on the table. Wow, it's a very luxurious dinner. All my favorite things. Welcome back. Surprised? We are having a party today. What? What kind of party? Did something happen? I went to the hospital today. What? Hospital? His expression suddenly clouded over. I showed him an echo photo I had gotten from my obstetrician. He stared at the photo and then turned to me with great energy. Linda, could it be? That's right. We are going to be mom and dad. We are going to be mom and dad? Is it true? We have been working so hard for 2 years. I think I'm finally pregnant. I'm so surprised. I don't know what to say. I was so surprised too. But I went to the OB-GYN today and saw the baby in my belly. I can't believe it. The size of the baby is the same as the number of weeks, and there are no problems. We are finally going to be parents. As I was talking to my husband, I gradually began to realize what I was feeling. Tears were welling up and I couldn't stop. When my husband saw this, he too burst into tears of joy and hugged me. Then he smiled, saying, "Thank you," to me again and again. And how many times since that day, my husband has done more chores than ever before. We have shared chores as much as possible, but recently, I'm worried about you. He started helping by doing chores that might burden my stomach. But that's not all. My husband has even made appointments for my prenatal checkups out of concern for me. Since I am not good at using the internet to begin with, my husband has been making appointments at the obstetrician's office according to my schedule. Fortunately, my morning sickness was on the mild side, so I was able to continue working as usual. When I got home from work, I prepared dinner and waited for my husband to come home. My husband had been working overtime recently, and he usually came home after 9 p.m. However, on this day, he didn't come home until after 10 p.m. He always called me when he came home after 9 p.m. But today, he didn't call me that either. Of course, I called him, but I didn't hear from him, and I waited for my husband to come home, worried that something had happened. It was a little after 11 p.m. when I heard the front door unlock. Worried and unable to sleep, I rushed to my husband at once. "Welcome back. Did you notice my call? I was so worried about you. Oh, sorry. I've been a little busy. You said there would be no overtime today, right? What happened? I suddenly had to work today. My husband was clearly swimming in his eyes as he spoke. I couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort in his words and gestures, feeling somewhat uneasy. I questioned my husband on the spot. Ken, something is wrong. Don't hide anything from me. I don't have anything to hide. What's wrong with you? So why don't you make eye contact with me at all? What were you doing up until this hour? Tell me the truth. I told you it was work. That a junior made a mistake, and I was in a hurry to follow up on it. Then why didn't you call me like you usually do? You must have noticed my messages and calls, right? I was busy. You will understanding, right? I didn't have time to contact you today. My husband suddenly yelled and glaring at me. I had never seen my normally calm husband raise his voice like this before, so I was involuntarily shaken. My husband dared me without mercy. You think I'm mocking you? I'm just asking you why you're late. Don't make me repeat it. I told you I had urgent business. What's so inconveniencing about it? It's not that I'm not satisfied. I'm just curious because you usually contact me on your own, but I didn't hear from you today. You're so persistent. You've been paranoid ever since you became pregnant, haven't you? What? Think about it. You can't work if the baby is on the way, right? I'm going to be the one to support you. Don't meddle anymore with my job, which will be supporting the family finances from now on. After saying these words, my husband took off the suit he was wearing, went into the bath, and then shut himself into the bedroom without having dinner, never coming out. The dinner I had prepared for him was left on the table. Looking at the untouched side dishes, I felt an indescribable emotion, and my chest became painful. Why? The way he said it like that, it was too much. I was just pointing out that he was acting differently than usual. Paranoid. There are things you can say and things you can't say. After that day, Ken became overtly cold toward me. It is now common for him to come home after midnight, and the fact that he used to come home at 9 p.m. until the other day is a lie. I was living the life of an expectant mother with a sense of anxiety. My husband used to take care of all the chores, but recently he had stopped doing them at all, so I have to manage everything by myself. I was physically and mentally exhausted from doing all the chores while caring for my stomach every day. I had reached the point where I could no longer hold this on my own. I contacted my sister Annika. Hello, long time no see. Long time no see. A sudden call like this, what's wrong? Ken and I had a fight, and I wanted you to listen to what I had to say. Again, the more you fight, the better you get along. That's exactly what they mean, isn't it? Annika is 3 years younger than me, and is now working hard at an apparel business. We were always told that we looked so much alike, that we're indistinguishable, and very close too. Since the beginning of my relationship with Ken, I have often asked Annika for advice. Annika is the one and only for me. On this day, she listened to my problems with Ken for about an hour on the phone. I feel like I have a little bit more room in my heart now that I've confided my problems to Annika. I realized that the 17th week of my pregnancy had passed, and my belly was becoming a little more prominent. I had entered the stable period without any problems, so I went to work as usual that day. I finished my lunch break as usual and was about to start my work. I felt a stinging pain in my stomach. I had never had pain like this before. What is this pain? I waited a bit to see if it would subside, but it persisted. My mind wandered to the safety of my baby. I was so worried that I left work early and hurried to my usual maternity clinic. My husband has an appointment for the usual prenatal checkup, so there is no appointment today. I was too anxious to leave this abdominal pain alone. I was prepared to wait quite a while. I explained the situation to the staff. Excuse me, this is Linda Johnson. I've had a stomachache since a little afternoon, and I was kind of worried. Please wait a moment, I'll check it out. Oh, it was sudden and I didn't have an appointment. Your reservation is confirmed. What is it? You're sure you're Mrs. Linda Johnson, 70 weeks pregnant, aren't you? You have an appointment today. Please wait a little longer. Yes, but without understanding what was going on, I was sent to the waiting room. No matter how many times checked my schedule, today wasn't supposed to be the day of the checkup. Since then, my husband's cold attitude has not changed, but he has only made an appointment for me to see an obstetrician. However, the next checkup is still a long way off. Definitely not today. I waited to see cold anyway, but I couldn't shake the feeling of discomfort. After waiting for about an hour, I felt the same abdominal pain as before again. I got up to go to the restroom. I returned to the waiting room a little later, but there was no sign of my name being called. I was told that I had an appointment, and it should have been called by now. Was my appointment a mistake after all? Suspicious, I asked another staff member. Excuse me, how much more time will it take? I am sorry, may I ask your name? My name is Linda Johnson. I've been waiting here for over an hour, but I haven't been called yet. What is that? It's Mrs. Johnson, isn't it? Yes. Is there something wrong? I called you earlier, didn't I? Huh? I asked you to enter examination room number 3. I thanked to the reception staff and headed for the examination room that I had been called to. There, I found examination room number 3 with a sign that said, "Examination in progress." I am here and they are examining me? What is going on? Maybe another patient entered the wrong room by mistake. At any rate, I decided to knock the door of the examination room. What's wrong? The nurse inside came out. I'm Linda Johnson. I heard you called me here. Mrs. Johnson? What? I was told by the receptionist earlier that I had already been called in, but it seems it was while I was going to the restroom. Someone else was in there or something. What? Wait please, Mrs. Johnson. You are already inside. I am Johnson. Something is wrong. Thinking so, I pushed aside the troubled nurse and entered the examination room. At that moment, an unimaginable scene unfolded before my eyes. Why are you here? There stood my husband, Ken, who was not supposed to be there. When Ken saw me, his voice faltered, and he seemed to be in a great panic. Linda, why are you here? That's my line, isn't it? What are you doing here? You booked my checkup today. The checkup is still a while away, so why? For now, just get out of here. My husband tries his best to get rid of me, but I couldn't listen to my husband in this situation either. Explain to me here and now. Why are you here? What's the reservation for? I'll tell you later. For now, let's just go outside. I don't agree with that. Explain it to me now. I need you to leave, please. As we were having this exchange, the doctor in charge came back into the room, tilting his head. Mrs. Johnson, huh? That? The doctor in charge looked surprised to see me. Doctor, I just got here. What? Wait, so I was just examining you? As the doctor in charge spoke, someone opened the door connected to the internal examination room. The one who opened the door was my sister Annika. What, Annika? I couldn't catch up with my thoughts anymore. Annika, why are you here? Sis, I saw Annika choking on her words, and I was filled with an unspoken irritation. I questioned Annika. My name was supposed to be the one reserved, right? Why are you the one getting the internal exam? Well, the doctor in charge, who had been listening to our exchange, began to speak. Sorry, I didn't recognize you, Mrs. Johnson. She was wearing a mask and she looked just like you. But Mrs. Johnson is supposed to be past 17 weeks pregnant, but the baby was too small for today's examination, so I thought it was odd. I can understand why my doctor would make a mistake. Annika and I look alike, and with the mask on, it would be even more difficult to tell us apart. I could understand why the doctor would have mistaken us for each other. And this is my husband. Well, I mean, the father of your sister's baby. The doctor stared at my husband with a piercing gaze. Ken turned blue as the doctor looked at him. It was here that I understood everything. Both of you, explain everything. The two of them, who seemed to have come to their senses, began to speak slowly. It seems it was a year ago that the two of them started having relations with a man and a woman. They told me that they had a chance to do so, partly due to the stress of being undergoing infertility treatment. Then I became pregnant. My husband was honestly happy about my pregnancy, but not long after Annika also became pregnant. When Annika asked my husband to let's go to see a doctor with me because she was worried, he made an appointment in my name, as was his habit. My husband realized this just before the visit, and in their haste, they lied that they had forgotten their insurance cards and made it through the reception without incident. While I was just leaving the room to use the restroom, the staff changed and called my name, and miraculously, they entered the examination room without seeing me. There was no way the doctor would have noticed my sister, who looked exactly like me and was wearing a mask. However, since my sister and I were clearly different in terms of the number of weeks we had been pregnant, it was obvious from an internal examination that it was not me. Just when the doctor was wondering why I was there, I walked into the examining room and it all made sense. After that, I managed to calm down and went to see my doctor. He assured me that the abdominal pain I had during the day had not affected my baby, and that it was only transient. After leaving the hospital, I took Annika and Ken to my parents' house. I called Ken's parents to come to my parents' house as well. In front of the whole family, I made them both explain everything that had happened. You're going to take responsibility, right? My husband answered with a wince. Of course, I'm going to take responsibility. I will continue to do so with Linda. What are you talking about? We're getting a divorce, of course. But responsibility. Responsibility? Of course. It's about money. I'm going to get property division from you and from Annika too. Linda, wait. I don't want a divorce. As my husband speaks this way, my sister raises her voice in fury. Wait a minute. What is that? You mean you lied when you said you liked me more? Annika and Ken are arguing and wrangling. My irritation finally peaked at the two, who were ranting and raving without regard for me. I dumped the tea I had on hand on them and yelled at them in a voice I'd never heard before. Shut up, enough. I'm divorcing Ken. And that's all I want, as long as I can get rid of Annika. I don't care about you guys. Just shut up and pay the property division. I only love Linda. I just want you to understand. Demanding property division from your sister? Sis, please reconsider. Shut up. How much do you think you're fooling people? I'll definitely get property division from you guys. That's a given. I'll give you hell no matter what it takes. If you understand, both of you get the hell out of my sight right now. Hearing my words, they said, Please, this is exactly what I want. Please forgive me, Linda. Sis, I'm sorry. Even if they did that, it's too late now. I will not forgive them no matter what, and what they did is an absolutely unforgivable act. Later, as a matter of course, Ken and I divorced. I completely broke my sister's contacts and insulated myself from both of them. The two of them have been cut off from each other and their families, and they seem to be living together reluctantly. Ken's company has found out about the incident, and his co-workers are now giving him the cold shoulder. Ken, who couldn't stand it, repeatedly missed work without permission, and as a result, he was fired. Anika, on the other hand, was unable to go to work due to severe morning sickness and resigned. The two are now both unemployed and are living a terrible life, bickering with each other. According to what I have heard, they have not yet registered their marriage. They will probably never be able to help each other as a couple. As for me, I am living at home with my parents while I am pregnant. I am looking forward to spending time with my child, and I have been asked to work from home. Without a father, there may be times when the child is put through hardships. Still, I intend to make my child happy with all the love I can muster.